Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be doing a really quick pasta dish that we're honestly going to make in 30 minutes or less. So pasta is one of those things that it's kind of one of my go-tos. It's a really quick and easy dinner for us at night, especially with our family. My husband typically doesn't eat much meat. If he does, he may eat salmon here and there, shrimp here and there. But as far as any other meat, he just doesn't eat it. So pasta is one of those things. It's easy enough for me to separate and to just make quickly for us to eat and to enjoy. So really quick disclaimer, the reason that this is editing Adrian at the beginning of this video is because we were using a recipe and I ended up deviating from the recipe because it had called for milk, and I remembered that the only milk that I had in my refrigerator, which I ended up pouring out after this, was a milk that my husband just said that he didn't like the flavor of it. So I didn't want to ruin my dish, so I went ahead and just went with a tried and true alfredo sauce, which I always make my own alfredo sauce anyway. So wanted to just make sure that it was enjoyable rather than something that my family just didn't enjoy. This video is really to just kind of show you that sometimes your recipes are just a flop, but you can definitely still make the best of it. So anyway, I'm gonna let you get back into this video and hopefully you guys are inspired by this dish. What I'm gonna go ahead and do is get my sausage ready. Like I said earlier, I am not going to use the whole entire package of sausage because honestly, we don't need that much sausage, and that can be a whole different meal, right? So I'm gonna go ahead, I like to cut mine in half and then I like to cut it in smaller pieces. Now, of course, you can leave it in the big round pieces if you like. This is just kind of how I typically do mine. All right, so we're going to add 2 tablespoons of butter. We're going to go ahead and get that going. I like to add a little bit of oil to mine. Totally do it however works for you, but I do like to add just a little bit of oil. This is avocado oil that I'm using. And what I did when I started my pasta water, I actually put in some salt and I put in some olive oil as well. You guys can't see that from this angle, but that's what that is. So we're going to let that go. I am going to use some onions. One of the other things that I'm trying to do is use the things that I already have. I have tons of onions chopped up already, okay? And so I'm going to go ahead and just dump those in. These are completely frozen, so I'm going to let those thaw out a little bit in the skillet as that butter kind of does its thing. Alright, so next thing that we are going to do is get our broccoli. So this broccoli, I typically don't buy this broccoli, but this is just, what Aldi had. I don't like huge pieces of broccoli in my dishes, so I'm going to give this kind of a rough chop, just to kind of make it a little bit smaller. Again, this is something you don't have to do, but it's just kind of like, my thing that I like to do. I kind of like for it to be in bite-sized pieces. Not that this is not, it's just I'm extra, y'all. I have to be a little extra with everything that I do, and yeah, add a little extra touch to it, okay? Now, the other thing that this recipe calls for is for you to boil the broccoli while the pasta water is going in the same pasta water. I don't know about that. I'm thinking that what I may do is actually throw my broccoli into the skillet that I'm sauteing my sausage and my onions. I don't know. Maybe I'll do that. What do you guys think? Anyway, I don't know, y'all. All right, so once we do that, we're going to, again, pasta water's still going. I'm doing all of this at once. I'm sure that it can be done a lot quicker. I am just going to make it do what it do. So I have this here on this cutting board. I'm going to get another cutting board. to go ahead and shred up this cheese. So this calls for mild cheddar cheese. I have this raw sharp cheddar from Azure that I need to go ahead and use. So I'm going to be using this up. I'm going to get this shredded up. And then I'm going to use the rest of, or not the rest of, but some of this mozzarella and get that going. And so we're going to go ahead and just kind of get this going, friends, because come on now. We hungry, y'all. All right, so let's go ahead and work on getting this cheese shredded up. I'm just gonna use my shredder here. Let me push you guys back enough to where you can actually see everything. My head is gonna be cut off just a little bit, but it's okay. You guys can see me, all right? I think you can. I think you can see me, okay? All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this shredded up. Like I said, if you have cheddar, go ahead and use that. And guys, again, I am recovering from a cold, and so if I have a tickle in my throat, I am so sorry, y'all. But my whole family had it, and we're just trying to get past all of this, but we still gotta eat, right? Mama's job is never done. So I'm gonna shred up all of this. I actually really like this cheese. This cheese, again, is from Azure Standard. I had purchased some. Honestly, y'all, when it chunks like that, it's gonna melt anyway. Don't worry about it. I had purchased some, and I actually used all of mine up. However, my mom had purchased some as well. See how it's kind of chunking. It'll be all right. And she never used hers. She had it froze like in the freezer, and so she'd asked me if I wanted it, and I was like, absolutely. And so, why not go ahead and get it used up, right? All right, so we're gonna do that. I do not like graters. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. So I'm watching it very closely so that I'm not like chopping a finger off. Now, if you are a pro at doing what you do you, boo. But let me tell you what I'm not gonna do. Is chop a finger off. I'm not trying to. Like, I'm really not trying to. So anyway, and if you prefer just to use a bag of shredded cheese, like I had that cheese from Thanksgiving. I want to say that I was using it for spinach dip. Typically, I do not buy shredded cheese. Well, let me not say that. I keep shredded cheese a lot of times in the house because my husband, if I don't shred it up, he's probably not going to shred it. So I try to keep some just, for him, like if he wants some. But I prefer to grate up my own cheese. So that is what I do. All right, so that is what I have there. The pasta water is boiling. So I'm going to go ahead and get my pasta in. It asks for 8 ounces of pasta. So we're gonna do this box of pasta, and honestly, what we do not use right now, or if we don't eat it, then we'll just eat on it for lunch tomorrow. So I'm gonna bring that down just a little bit, okay? We're gonna bring that down, and we're gonna go ahead and get all of our trash in here. I like to clean as I go. A lot of times if I'm cooking, one of my girls will actually come behind me and pick up things, and so they're not here, so mama gotta do the work. So okay, our onions are our onions are getting there. We're starting to saute, baby. Just saying. Get a little saute going. Get a little saute going. Just a little bit. Alright, using up stuff in the fridge. I'm so excited. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to do, this is going to take its time to do what it does best. Alright, so we're going to boil the pasta, reserve 1 cup of pasta water, drain the rest in a large skillet over medium heat, blah, 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 blah. Stir in the garlic and cook for an additional minute. So once our onions start to kind of brown up, our sausage starts to kind of brown up, we're going to go ahead and put in some garlic. In a medium bowl, we're going to combine the milk and cornstarch. We're gonna go ahead and whisk that until the cornstarch is dissolved. Add the milk mixture into the skillet, da da da, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let me just be real here. Typically, y'all, when I find a recipe that I like, can I be honest with y'all? I kind of go with it. I see the picture and I'm like, oop, I got these ingredients. I don't typically kind of just go looking at the recipe for 20, 30 minutes before I cook. I just kind of take the recipe and cook while I'm reading the recipe. All right, guys, so while we have everything going, we have our pasta boiling, we have our sausage and our onions kind of doing their thing. Just kind of stirring them. They're not ready for me to put in the garlic, and that's okay. So while that's going, I actually have a bag of chicken thighs that I'm gonna go ahead and marinate. My husband had actually taken this out, put it in the fridge for me to cook, and I just didn't get around to it, and then I didn't want it today. So I'm going to do a super simple marinade for this. I'm going to do like a honey mustard chicken, and I'm just going to use some stone ground mustard, I think is what I have. I'm going to add some wildflower honey to it. I'm going to add some seasonings. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the fridge, and that way we'll have it for tomorrow. Now, to that, I'm going to go ahead and add my seasonings. Now, you can absolutely do whatever seasonings float your boat. I typically use kind of the same seasonings for everything. Alright, so to this chicken, I am actually going to go ahead and add some garlic powder. And again, you can kind of add whatever works for you. I'm going to scoot you guys back a little bit. You guys, I'm sorry, I'm still learning all things camera. So if I'm like moving the camera in the middle of everything, please know that I just want to make sure I have everything right. So I'm going to do some salt. And I'm not picking up that much, so I don't want you guys to think that I'm doing a ton of salt. I'm going to do some black pepper. Again, I am really not going for perfect proportions or anything, so, you know. I am going to use the no salt seasoning. Now, I know you may be like, why use salt and then no salt seasoning? So, I don't use a lot of salt, but I really love the no salt seasoning for all of its components. So, that is why I'm doing that. I'm going to go ahead and stir this a little bit and try to make sure it's not burning. Onions are starting to kind of brown up. So then what I'm going to do is use some Dijon mustard. Now, if you don't have Dijon mustard, you can absolutely use stone ground mustard. What's the other one? It's another one, but this is just kind of what I'm going to use. So I did one big, you know, of it. Whatever you want to call it. Now I'm going to add some, a little bit of brown sugar to this. This is just some brown sugar that I made up myself. I'm not going to add a whole lot, but I personally like for my honey mustard chicken to have a really, you know, I wouldn't say a really sweet flavor, but I do like sweet. So, all right, then I'm going to use some of my wildflower honey. And I'm sure that I probably could have used a different spoon, but in the big scheme of things, it's okay. It's okay. Alright, and then I'm just going to take some parsley flakes. I do have some freeze-dried parsley, but this is just, I'm trying to go ahead and use this one up. Alright, so what I'm going to do is also add a little bit of oil to this. This is just about ready for me to add our garlic to it. Just going to use a little bit of avocado oil. Okay. And I'm gonna go ahead and seal this bag up. Again, I don't do very accurate measurements, y'all. I just kind of go with what I feel, and if I need to add to it, I add to it. However, if you want really accurate, definitely, you know, use like your measuring spoons or whatever. This is just how I'm doing mine. Right, so we got all of that in there, kind of coated. I want to make sure that we've got all of our chicken really good and coated. These pieces at the bottom need just a little bit more. All right, so now we have this chicken ready to go in the fridge. All right, so garlic is added. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a stir. And at this point, I don't want my garlic to burn, so I'm gonna turn this off. Now, the recipe called for you to add the broccoli 3 minutes before it is, the boiling is complete for the pasta water. And I thought about that. I might as well do that because if I put the broccoli into the pan with the sausage, then, you know, that's not gonna work because I'm trying to keep the meat separate. I'm gonna go ahead and add that broccoli. There we go. That had just a little bit of sausage in it, so I didn't want to leave that in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the pasta and broccoli drained. All right, so the recipe calls for us to reserve, I believe it's 1 cup of pasta water. So let me go back and make sure. Yep, 1 cup of pasta water. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I have my 1 cup measuring thingy-majig right here. And I'm gonna sit it on, I'm just gonna sit it on the plate. I'm gonna do 1.5 cups heavy whipping cream. And honestly, I don't think I'm gonna need to thicken it up that way, so. All right. So then what we're going to do is bring the mixture to a boil, add the mixture to the skillet. Okay, gotcha. Continue. Honestly, y'all, this is like a pasta that I've already made before. So I don't really need the recipe at all. I'm gonna make this the way that I would typically make it because it just makes more sense for me to do it that way. All right, so I'm gonna put a little bit of pepper in the pan, tiny bit of salt, literally tiny bit, and I'm gonna use some Parmesan and Romano cheese. Romano. We're gonna do that. We're just gonna go ahead and make. We're gonna go ahead and make an alfredo because it's haunting me at this point that that's exactly what wants to be made. Just saying. You try to do something different for your family, and it just doesn't work, right? And that's okay. We're still gonna eat good. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and taste the sausage and garlic and onions. Tastes like sausage, garlic, and onions. Woohoo! So once that starts to kind of boil a little bit, we're going to go ahead and put our shredded cheese, the cheese that we shredded up. We're going to go ahead and put that in the pan. And then we're going to return our pasta to the pan. The only thing that we're not going to return is our sausage, which we'll just kind of put that on top. So let me go ahead and clean up just a little bit, and then we'll be right back. Alright, so we're going to give it a little mix there. You guys see it. Looks pretty yummy to me. So, let's see. Now, I will definitely say this. My husband... My husband will probably end up putting a little bit more salt on his. However, I am watching my salt intake. So, my family knows Mommy's not going to put a ton of salt. So, if you want more salt on it, then you have to add it on your own plate. However, it has perfect amount of seasonings. I love the garlic taste from the sausage with the onions and the garlic. It really gives it a good, gives it a good flavor. And these mushrooms. The mushrooms are the perfect texture, y'all. The perfect texture. So, again, this is how cooking goes in my kitchen. I am not the perfect cook. When I say that, I don't get it right all the time. However, I know how to make it work and what works for my family. We started with the recipe. That recipe just was not coming out the way I wanted it to. I personally don't know how it would have been with milk. I will say this, that I would probably... I have made alfredo with half and half, so I would feel comfortable. Well, no, I've made it with milk as well and just kind of thickened it up with cheese. Because once you add the cheese, to me it's thick. It's really thick enough. So this just kind of came out to be my classic alfredo to the rescue. So definitely give it a try. I will try to put just kind of my steps to making my alfredo and how I do it in the description box below. Actually, I'll put a link to my blog, and then I'll have all of that information over there. So definitely give it a try. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing. Check us out. We are trying to do at least 2 videos a week where we are doing gardening, preserving, adding things to the homestead, doing all the things in the kitchen. What was perfection and what was a fail, because I promise you this is not going to be one of those highly perfect. It's just not going to be, because that's not who I am. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will talk to you guys again soon. Bye, friends.